Oh, amazing. Hello, everyone. Bonjour, Annie. Hola. My name is Garrett Ryan. I am with Artist Relations here at Fringe North this season. Um, we are so happy to be here on our Fringe North Roundtable live stream, and this is the last one of the season. We've done these every Thursday for the last 2 months, I guess, and we've reached that point where next Thursday we won't be able to do a live stream because we will be enjoying shows at this time, which is very scary and exciting and all of those things all packaged together. Um, but yeah, we're so happy to be in this place, and we're really happy to have had you all join us along the way. Um, Festival runs August 16th to the 20th. And today we are going to end our roundtable series by chatting a little bit about community arts. Community is a very important part of the work we do here at Fringe North. We want to be a space where artists are able to produce their own work, to tell their own stories, local artists within the community. We want to give them that opportunity. And then also, we really want to exist within the ecosystem of the Sault Ste. Marie community, of the broader regional Northern Ontarian community. So all of those aspects are really important to us. And I'm actually joined by Avery today. And Avery, why don't you tell everyone, first introduce yourself, say hello, and then tell everyone where you are right now.
Yeah, so my name's Avery. I'm joining as both a Fringe staff, as a festival technician this year, and as an artist. And right now I am at the Downtown Association at the, what is it, the Summer Street Party, where the Fringe North table is set up, and we have some of our festival artists performing later tonight as music acts downtown. So if you're in the Sioux and want to check it out, maybe a place to do it really close to the museum where we will be. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. It's so great that we are able to partner up a little bit with the folks at the Downtown Association and join what I'm sure is an amazing event. If I was in the city, I would absolutely be there. Unfortunately, I'm not until a few days from now. I'll be there, which I'm really looking forward to. But this is one of a few events that we have tabled at this year. We like to partner up with these different organizations doing similar work, similar types of festivals showcasing local artists and artisans. And Avery, you were at one in, was it Thessalon the
Yeah,
other
I was
day?
at the Thessalon Community Day weekend just the other weekend, which was last
Yeah.
weekend. Yeah.
How was that? Talk a little bit about your experience there.
It was great to see all of the families going back to Thessalon, which is, I guess, for those of you who don't know, just a small community an hour away from the Sioux, where lots of people go for this weekend of football tournament and other fun activities, including the parade, which is where I handing out some French material. We ran out rather quickly, so apologies if you didn't get a bookmark or sticker. It's like, but yeah, it was a fun little weekend, and got to have my grandpa dress up as a pickle for his pickleball as
Yeah, if
well.
anyone
Yeah.
missed that, it was on our social media. I think it was a story. I don't think it's still up.
Yeah.
If it was a limited viewing experience, but I loved it. Um, yeah, I love so much that we're able to partner up with these different organizations. I mean, I feel like growing up, especially in Northern Ontario, these sort of like little pop-up festivals are so important to the fabric of the community. Like people look forward to these things all year. I remember growing up, we would always look forward to the maple syrup festival, and it would be a very similar kind of idea. Like there'd be a bunch of different vendors, different like musicians, and everyone coming together, and the whole community is there and gathers. And we really highlight what being in community, being in space with each other means. Um, I would love to know from you, Avery, as someone who grew up in the area, what are some of your favorite community fest type events that maybe don't exist anymore? Maybe you had growing up, maybe some older ones, some newer ones. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that I always looked forward to year after year, I think growing up was Passport to Unity, which always kind of took place in the like hockey arena, where there like would be like food vendors set up and like different like dance performances, and like you could like go around and like get your little passport filled, which was really fun. I think I did my birthday party as it what like multiple times. So it would be like on a similar weekend. Um, so that was always fun. And I think it's maybe come back a few times like smaller at like the machine shop and stuff. There's also been like the Festival of Trees where it's just like it's Christmas trees. Um, so there's lots of I think we have lots of fun like little festivals and stuff that happen in the zoo. Like I think Bonsai is a big one as well. And I think Fringe North is becoming one, at least for me, and I hope for other members of the community. Um, and I think for me, like I'm looking forward to it every year, and I'm looking forward to next year's already as well. So yeah,
Yeah, I think one of the things that we like to say when we're talking about Fringe North and Fringe festivals in general is how unique Fringe festivals are in that they really give an opportunity for grassroots performance, which doesn't exist so much outside of uh, Fringe North in the community. But when you kind of take a step back and look at the general idea of like what we're trying to do and like how we're trying to exist within community, I think we fit really nicely into that broader ecosystem of those different festivals who are maybe promoting different types of performance and artwork and art in a more abstract sense. But I think it's really cool, and I think if people haven't come to Fringe North before, they've never been to a Fringe festival, I think coming by, there'll be a lot of familiarity if they've been to other types of community arts festivals or just community festivals in general. Um, with that being said, I'm curious from your perspective, Avery, how have you seen these types of festivals, including Fringe North, this broader array of community-oriented events? How do you think that shapes and affects the community and helps it grow or develop or anything like that?
I think they're just always fun to go to and like see people that you know and have something that you're oriented around and being like at that time of having people you're just running into and be like, oh, are you going to this thing? Oh yeah, and just as a way of connecting with people that you're in community with and also meeting new people perhaps and of enjoying new things together. And I think there are a lot of new things to enjoy with Fringe North in particular with really the breadth of arts that are coming and that are emerging at the festival this year. So I think that's really something to look forward to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm also curious on top of that, taking kind of a step back in the broader community sense of like what arts mean from your perspective, because I know this is something that you likely do within your degree path. How do you find arts in general are able to shape a community or affect a community? Like, what is the role that arts have in society, and what is the role that you hope arts have more of in society, maybe going forward?
That's an interesting question. I think I'd be curious to hear your answer as well, because I know that was like really the focus of like your master's and
Yes.
stuff as well. So, um, and yeah, so I think I'd be thinking more about like audiences in terms of like how you're engaging with work rather than the community aspect and like in terms of how you're approaching it and like where you're coming from and like where we are and if that makes sense. So like positioning yourself in relation to what you're watching and like where you are and that kind of thing and like reflecting upon that as you're engaging with the work. in an ongoing kind of way. So that's what I really hope that like audiences can be empowered to do, and like even on, like in ways where we're like not like immersing ourselves completely, and like just continuing to reflect as really continually, right? So to be more
Hmm.
socially engaged and like, so that's really what I think art can do for us, and that we really need, but we need to want art to do that for us in order for that to happen. So
Yeah.
that's really what I think, and I think, right, like art can do whatever you want it to do for you. So yeah, so I guess
Yeah, for
really
sure.
there for anyone.
Hmm. Yeah, it's the role of arts in community is it's as you said, it's obviously very interesting to me. I wrote a whole master's thesis on it. But I think back to one of the early shows that Theatre Passe Muraille did, which is a Toronto-based theater company, that they toured outside of Toronto, was called Paper Wheat, I believe was the title. And there's a whole documentary on it that you can see on YouTube about the initial tour they did. But this story was essentially about a group of various individuals who had immigrated or grown up in Saskatchewan. I believe it was Saskatchewan. It was either Saskatchewan or Manitoba, but they had grown up in the prairies. And this play was like very intrinsically about life in the prairies and about that community and existed within that community. And they brought it there. And you can see in the documentary, there's all these people who have never seen themselves on a stage before, like seen any representation of themselves. They thought they didn't have interesting enough stories to be up on a stage. They didn't think anyone would care to portray them or their struggles or their histories or their family. Um, and the people that are interviewed after seeing the show were so like emotional being able to actually experience that. And I remember when I watched that, it resonated with me as someone who has family that is from the prairies, but also just as someone from Northern Ontario, where I know that's the case for us as well. Like I think a lot of people don't have a strong connection with cities in Northern Ontario because they're not represented as much in art. Like there's so many ideas in art about places like, you know, like New York or Paris or like big cities like that, but that there's not as much that are like rooted in the specific experiences in Northern Ontario. So being able to empower artists that are in that region to tell stories that exist there, and then people can see themselves represented on stage or in music or poetry or artwork. I think it's something that I love to see. And yeah, my whole thesis was based on like exploring creating regional work with youth to see how it reframed their perception of the North. And what I found was typically when people are creating work and are like really engaging with their sense of home, then they get at least a greater maybe more holistic understanding of what home and community means to them, even if they're still like um, you know, dead set on moving to Toronto as soon as they can. They still have maybe a greater understanding of how their hometowns have shaped them. So I mean that's a big passion of mine in the work that we do and the artists that we work with, especially the local artists. And it's a really special experience to be able to work with them. Um, I'd love to know from your perspective, Avery, what have you seen shift in terms of uh, arts within Sault Ste. Marie uh, growing up? Like Fringe North, I'm sure was something that was very different that popped up, and I can. You know, I'm from North Bay, and I saw a lot of changes and a lot of more opportunities pop up in terms of art as I grew up. Like what for you have been the biggest shifts as an artist yourself, being a kid in the region and then now being working in the region and helping facilitate this festival and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know like how much I can really tell so much as just growing up, you know what I mean? And then be like, well, now I'm getting paid for doing art. Like, well, wouldn't have
Yeah.
been anyways when I was like 10. So I think there are like growing numbers of like community theater, it seems like to me, but I think there always has been like a strong like foundation of community theater and like that has I don't like musical comedy guilds been around for like a long time. Like I think they had a celebration of some sort. I think it might have been like 50 or 60 years. Don't quote me on that. It's wrong. Whatever number I'm saying, but they've been around for a while. Um, I know like I did Anne of Green Gables a little bit ago, and like one of the original actors who came back to play, like he didn't play Matthew in the original, but he was playing Matthew at like 80 in this
Right.
one, and he was like in it as a kid in the stew, and he was like, so that was kind of cool. So like I think there has always been like a strong art scene in like the stew, and I
Mm.
think just in what form it takes like has been shifting. So I think um right now like Fringe North I think is really strong. I think it is. It's
I
providing lots
think
of
so too.
opportunity. I think
Yeah.
so too. I think it's
A
doing
little
really
bit
well.
biased, but I hope
Um,
so.
yeah. So like Fringe North and like there's a lot of murals popping up downtown that like obviously that is like an intentional effort to like have art within the city, um, as well as a lot of other community like community theater, and visual arts like residencies for artists at like the Sioux Museum, I think, and as well as like the art gallery. So things like that, as well as like I know growing up, like arts were always part of kind of my understanding of community within growing up in the Sioux. So I think, yeah, I think there's always been like a strong arts, like arts have been strong in the Sioux, I think, for a while.
Yeah, that's really cool. So there's like a very strong foundation and like a real significant legacy that's there in terms of art. And then a new organization like us, like Fringe North, can come and like follow along in this path that's been set out and hopefully join up
Yeah,
with the work that they're doing. Yeah, like
yeah. I
that's
think
great.
just for all of these things just to be really lasting is just really recognizing how integral those are to our community, like
Yeah.
which they are, obviously, like they're here and I think providing a lot of community for a lot of us in the Sioux. So like giving those that like infrastructure to like really be part of the community and to be strong and like remain intact and to just add to it because I don't think there's like any competition in adding more art, really.
No, no, exactly. It's I'm firmly of the belief that everyone has the capabilities within them to be an artist in some sense, or especially I think everyone has stories to tell, and whatever form they tell those stories, like I think it's great to have multiple avenues to express those that inner artist like that we have. Some of the more established theaters in the city, we have some more established music groups, and then Fringe can also take that niche of being some, the more kind of grassroots level. Um, and yeah, I think the more paths, the better. It's just going to encourage more people to consume art and pursue art. Um, yeah, I think that's really cool. Um, I wanted to also ask you to kind of go back a little bit to what I was talking about when I was talking about arts, the stories being rooted in community. That's somewhat true of your piece. Is that correct? I wonder if you wanted to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so my piece is based on a family story of my great grandmother arriving in Hornpain off the train where she was moving, um, and finding her furniture just like left in the mud on the train. She's like, at first was just like, oh, that's funny, and then it's like, oh, why? Like, why did you do that? Like, um, so from there, it's like very much its own thing. But I think still very much rooted in kind of this like family history of like being kind of grounded in Northern Ontario as well as like various other ideas that I'm bringing with me into it. And I think part of it, like one description that I have, if I can quote my own writing, is like, here caterpillars will amass by the thousands in one writhing body that bears the trees. They will make rain chewing the leaves. I will sweep them from the roof and walls. I have been warned. This is kind of based on like the very real imagery of like the house being like completely covered in like 10 caterpillars. And I think like even now, like I'm like coming back every few years and like where it's just like my dad will like come back from like his bike rides where he's like a bike rider who rides his bike in the like
Right.
trails.
Yeah.
We have a lot of nice trails around Sault Ste. Marie. And they'll just be like completely like covered like in the bike and it's like riding through mud. Like I
Yeah,
think
I love that. It's good. Oh,
um
I
sorry.
there was a second. Sorry. No, you go.
I was gonna say like I think your piece is similarly like regional, and even probably more
Yeah,
so specific.
yeah. Mine. Oh, well, okay, really quick. I was gonna say. I forgot for a second that you were also performing your piece. So I'm like, how did you remember all of that, like that line? And I was like, oh wait, yeah, you're also performing. I was like, I definitely couldn't just drop
I
a
remember
long
all
quote.
30 minutes of it actually.
Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, I similarly, my piece is rooted in North Bay, um, but I think it is relevant to anyone from Northern Ontario, and we did it in Charlottetown, PEI last year, and people um, connected with it, even though it's like completely removed from their realm of experience. But then we kind of found out that it's not like they're dealing with similar things. But yeah, ours is really an opportunity for us to engage with some of the negative things that we have seen growing up in Northern Ontario. I wrote the piece, but it was shaped by some of the other collaborators as well, and yeah, it was a cathartic experience because even though, like I said, and I referenced this a little bit when I talked about my master's thesis, um, sometimes doing this work will provoke writings that are not necessarily positive. It's not like every piece that you're writing about Northern Ontario is going to be like this like happy, beautiful memory about the trees and the snow. And like I have a lot of positive memories. But then sometimes you engage with it and you get something that on the surface seems uh, pretty negative. I think if you just kind of read it at surface level, my piece, then you're going to think I hate Northern Ontario, but I really don't. It was just like an opportunity to delve into some of those negative things and hopefully be a piece that can inspire those that watch it to seek positive change in society. Um, yeah, so I was going to mention as well the idea about the caterpillars and things like that. It's I think something so important about arts that are um, existing within like a community frame of reference. There are people that are going to watch your piece, and there are people that are going to watch my piece, and they're going to connect with it in a certain way that someone from, like in my example, Charlottetown wouldn't connect with it because there's going to be very specific imagery and very specific references. And I think that's really cool, and it kind of helps bring the community, like we talked about at a festival like you're at now. It's something that can bring a community together, and that I think is present in community-oriented artwork as well. Like people will connect to a thing, and then they'll connect to each other, and it's creating a nice little ecosystem there.
Yeah, I think interestingly, and this might be a little tangent, is that I think our pieces are kind of like stylistically inverted a little bit, where like you're like, yeah, mine might seem like I hate Northern Ontario, and it's like, but like really need that. Whereas like I think mine is like, oh, it's just like beautiful like language, like even if like my piece from last year as well, like I would say like, oh,
Hmm.
nice language, and then like all of everything underneath is just like, what is happening?
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of like that tension underneath, whereas like everything on top is like, oh, this is so beautiful. So I think kind of like both of those exist and like, or maybe like two different ways of like kind of like looking at this like place that we're in. And I think those are like ways of kind of like coming in and like, as I said before, of like entering the arts and like looking and engaging with them from the place that we're in.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's a really interesting thing to bring up because I think you're totally right. The language of our pieces are like completely different. I think the way that I write often, and especially in this piece, is very like unstylistic and blunt, and like it's very I tried to be very specific, and like it's written as a low income individual in Northern Ontario would speak. It's not, it doesn't sound theatrical, to the extent where we really had to work on like accent and vocalizations and slang and stuff when I was working with the actors, especially one of our actors is from Toronto, so he had never come to Northern Ontario until we toured the piece up there. So yeah, I think that's a really interesting
And
observation. Like
there is
they're
an
totally
accent distinction for sure.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, people notice like when I say things and they're like, "What are you saying?" It's like I
Yeah,
cannot pronounce my
we
A's
had the
properly,
conversation.
apparently.
We had the conversation last night about decal versus decal, which is a interesting one. But yeah, there's words all the time that I'll say, and people will be like, "What? What are you saying?" It's so funny. Yeah, but I love to. I, I don't. If I'm doing something that's like rooted in like a realistic, quote unquote, type way in a piece, then I want to make it sound as realistic as possible. Like I don't shy away from using things that might alienate people in the sense that they're like, what do you even mean by that? Like, if you get it, you get it, and if you don't, then like, it's not going to detract from the piece if you don't understand a piece of slang or a way something's being said. But yeah, for sure. Um, I was gonna ask as well. Um, what was the? Oh yeah, the last thing I was gonna say before I would love we're gonna see if we can maybe take a look at what's going on outside. But in terms of community, what would you like to see in the future pop up? Um, after we're firmly rooted and even more established, and we become um, an annual tradition that we get the whole city out to Fringe North. Once that's happened, that's our first priority. And then what would you like to see in the community?
I think it'd be really awesome to be part of like a professional theater company, like in the North or specifically
Yeah.
in like Sault Ste. Marie, because that would be pretty awesome. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I'm right there with you. I think I'd love that, and I'd love to see more touring opportunities to develop that are like very community oriented, but also like regionally focused and like being very specifically Northern Ontarian because we have I mean what we said through this whole thing, like we have a distinct voice and perspective and distinct region, and it's cool to see arts made with that in mind. And it's cool to see the like broadly art related things with that in mind, which is our segue into looking at this festival that you're at right now, which
Well,
is we're gonna see what we can do here, but
we'll see
Avery,
at what point
see
the Wi-Fi
about,
stops working when I leave the building.
yeah, if you disappear, that is fine with me. Oh, that's beautiful artwork you just passed by there.
Oh, it's a pull door. It looks we have our table back here,
Amazing.
and we have some music happening as well, and I can't really hear or see anything because of the brightness and the wind.
I think that is that as far as we could go potentially with Wi-Fi. All right, I think that's as far as we can go with Wi-Fi for Avery. But uh, before we wrap up, first of all, I didn't get to say it because Avery vanished. But thank you to Avery for jumping on with me and chatting a little bit about arts in community. But before we wrap up our final live stream, our final roundtable, I would love to take a quick little look at the Fringe North schedule. Just share a little bit about what's coming up. Oh, Avery's back.
Hi.
Amazing. Awesome. We got a little peek at what's going on.
Cool. I'm not sure
It's
at
very
what
cool.
point
It's
I
like
cut out.
it's we saw the street and we heard the sounds and then kind of glitched out a little bit. But yeah, it's very cool to see because that's so close to where we are going to be located as well. But yeah, before we wrap up, I am going to see what I can do here in terms of screen sharing and chat a little bit about some of the exciting shows that we have coming up. I am trying my best to see where I can screen share. I'm just gonna, I think, generally screen share and see what I can see. Got some stuff here. Don't want to. We're gonna open our roundtable questions. There we go. Okay, great. Can is this seen? Can you see this, Avery?
Yeah.
Amazing. All right. So before we wrap up, we're going to go over the festival schedule because we're so excited, and tickets are on sale right now. You can go to the website. And as a reminder, because we chatted a little bit about this before we got started, there are some shows that are overlapping with each other. So make sure to take a look at all the timings of the different shows because if you want to see multiple, then you're going to have to kind of plan your schedule accordingly. So we start Wednesday, August 16th. That is less than 1 week away at 7 p.m. O&MK is going to be performing some original music. And I believe one of those songs is going to be a special song that is written about Fringe North, which is really cool. And then throughout that night on the Wednesday, we have our open ceremonies. We're going to hear from some of our Fringe team, and we're going to kick off the festival with all of these amazing artists who are going to pitch their shows and perform some little bits and get us all excited. And then at 10 p.m., we have a performance from The Floor Between Us. If you saw them last year, The Floor Between Us is a really fun musical comedy band. They are so unique, and I definitely recommend you come out and check them out. Then we can go on to Thursday. We've got a whole bunch of stuff going on Thursday. This is our first real day of a lot of shows going on. We have a bunch of digital stuff going on as well. I'm not going to read through everything, but you can take a look. It's all super exciting stuff. And by the way, you can get this program on the website. It's on the homepage. You'll see it. You can download the program. You can see all this for yourself, all the schedule stuff. And yeah, we've got these are all going on Friday. Friday is a nice full day. We also have the off venue event at the Blackwater Sunken Cathedral, which is going to be really cool. Saturday, we have a super full day, including on Saturday, we have a bunch of our kids stuff going on. So if you have any little ones, come out to the museum. We're going to have some games and things like that going on. Also, I'd recommend for the little ones to check out Drag Does Disney from House of Gore. There's going to be some fun Disney music and things like that. And on that day, on the Saturday, we're going up until midnight. We're ending with our Fringe After Dark, so that's going to be a late one. So if you're interested in some late night performance, that's going to be the show for you. And then we end up on Sunday, August 20th, and we have a whole range of exciting stuff starting at 2 going until I guess around 9. So I just wanted to share that at the end as we're wrapping up, as we've had a lot of these artists that you'll see in this schedule on this roundtable, including Avery right now. Here's Avery's show right here. And it's been such an honor to be able to chat with all of these artists, to have some of them on here, to have some of them on the podcasts. I'm going to stop sharing now. And it's I truly think that we have a special lineup this year. A lot of these artists are local creators. A lot of them are very rooted in the community. And the ones that are not specifically from the community or the broad region are really excited to come and kind of ingratiate themselves within that community. So yeah, I can't wait. We're less than a week out, which is crazy, but we have so much stuff going on. Tickets are on sale now, and I really hope that we can see a lot of you there. Do you have anything to add, Avery, before we wrap it up?
No, not other than really excited for the festival and same, can't wait to see everyone there.
Amazing. Yeah, I will just wrap it up by one final sincere thank you for tuning in, for checking out all of our roundtables that we've done through the season. These are always so much fun. We really love getting the chance to talk to our artists, to go do some deep dives into some very interesting questions. I've learned a lot. I've been able to talk to artists very outside of my frame of reference. I know a lot more about uh, drag and pole dancing and dance in general, to name a few things that I definitely learned a lot about. Music. I talked a lot about music and performance, about touring music. It's really broadened my horizon as an artist, and I hope for those that have tuned in, it has had a similar effect for you. And then I hope you can come to the festival and see some of these artists and have your horizons broadened even more. So sincere thank you, merci, miigwech, gracias for tuning in. Fringe North 2023, August 16th to the 20th. You can check out our website, all our social media channels in the description below for more information about the festival. And if you want to support the work that our team is doing, you can consider tipping the Fringe. There's information for that in the description below as well. And usually this is the point where I say we'll be back next week with another live stream. But instead of seeing Avery and myself here digitally, you can come see us at the festival next week on Thursday. Thank you so much, Avery, for being here. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in.